Ranting, reflecting, reasoning, reckoning.
The Huddle with paperplusoffice.co.nz. Buy all your office supplies and stationery online now.
Josie Pagani is with us. Hello, Josie.
Hi, Larry.
And Cameron Slater, the editor of Truth, and whaleoil.co.nz. Hello, Cam.
Hi, Larry.
Josie, issue number one to you in this class action against the banks for charging what they claim is excessive fees. This mirrors the Australian case where the banks actually are losing. They've lost in the High Court and it's off to the Federal Court. What do you see in this?
Well, I mean, the banks are bastards. We all know that, and they overcharge. And in fact, when I look at my own account, there's all sorts of unknown things there, like maintenance fees and God knows what, let alone all my fees for my credit card problems. But there's a problem here, though, Larry. There's a precedent, I reckon, because if the principle is that you can't charge more than the cost of recovery, in other words, you can't make a profit out of punishing someone like me, then what are you going to do about video hire places, parking fines, the airport fees we pay when we book online with our credit cards? So I think there's a problem there. And the other problem I've got with it is the likes of Slater and Gordon, these guys in Australia, they do class actions all the time. And look, we don't have a class action culture in New Zealand, and I'm not sure we really want one.
No.
Well, that's their business, isn't it, Josie? But I've had a number of emails and texts on other companies like you saying telecommunications companies and their extra charges.
Well, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
Okay, what do you see in this, Cameron?
Well, it's easy to beat up banks, and what you'll see is, I think you'll see a whole lot of politicians jump on the bandwagon of this. Remember, the opposition had this big banking inquiry, and they all like hating on the banks as well. And it's very easy to beat up the banks. But the bottom line is that a lot of these fees are charged on people who have a risk profile. And yeah, there's some dodgy fees associated with international transactions and things like that. But you know, the only people who are going to win from this, and there's probably a whole lot of gullible people out there thinking that, hey, I'm getting for a big payout from the banks. Let me tell you something. Banks never pay out anything. They always win the litigation in the long run because they simply drag it out in the court over 10 or 15 years.
I think that's right. I mean, I actually agree with you.
And the lawyers are the only ones who win.
I agree with you, Cam, and I think what I'm saying is that I'd rather this wasn't being dealt with by lawyers who stand to make a lot of money from this.
Well, they're rapacious at the best of times.
Yeah, and deal with it through your consumer affairs, your consumer protection processes. There's another point too, Larry, that if the banks do keep charging us too much for this stuff, then it makes it impossible for a lot of people to have a bank account, and that's actually not good for the economy because if people don't have a bank account, they don't borrow, they don't save, they don't borrow to buy a house. So there's a whole big issue there too.
Well, yeah, look, it's fair to charge interest if you've got debt on a credit card and you haven't paid. I think that's fair enough. But I think, Cameron, it'll come down to, in this country, what is in the bank's contract with their customer. See, the other thing is, I think somebody's putting up $1 million to front this, but they're saying up to $1 billion. Well, 25% is $250 million. It's not a bad day for the lawyers.
No, well, the thing is that they'll find it hard to actually run the case like that. For a start, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that lawyers in New Zealand can't take cases on contingency.
Well, I think, Cam, they have to with a class action, you have to have everybody in the class signed up.
Right. No win, no fee basis. Surely you can do that, Cam.
Well, no, look, I just think it's a waste of time and effort. The lawyers are the only ones who are going to win from this. And everyone's expecting this payout. $1 billion by, 300,000 people is 3/5 to 5/8 of stuff all.
Yeah, the lawyers will win a lot.
And 10 years later, the banks will claw it all back anyway by charging more for the...
Lawyers get $250 million payday, which is interesting. That means $750 million for the punters. What's wrong with that? Are you going to turn your nose up at that?
Well, yeah, but I'm not
even... Well, you get it, though. You've got to win first.
Yeah, you've got to win first.
Correct.
So you've got to get everybody in that class signed up.
Well, the lawyers have to win too, Cam, to get the money. Yeah, we'll come back in just a moment. Josie Pagani and Cameron Slater. It's 15 to 6.
Larry Williams Drive with the business banking specialists at Westpac.
Back on the Huddle with Josie Pagani and Cameron Slater. Cam, issue number 2 to you. Car park tax. Do you think this is nitpicking? Do you think it's daft? I think it's gouging, actually, for no real benefit. What do you see in this?
I don't think there's a lot of benefit in it. I think that there's a lot of grief. Matthew Hooton has started a little campaign out there, and when he gets his the bone between his teeth or the bit between his teeth or whatever he's got between his teeth, he tends to put a bit of hurt on, and I don't think this is going to be anything worthwhile, although I do see that the opposition, particularly Labour, has come out bagging the car park tax, which is a bit rich really from a party that wanted to introduce a capital gains tax, have decided by a panel of experts and had things like the family batch jewellery and anything else.
Well, I think they're different issues. Josie, what do you see in this car park tax?
Oh, it is nitpicking. Look, this is a good whiny section, isn't it? We're whining about banks. Now the government, this is meant to be the government that was meant to cut our taxes, and here they are doing silly little things. I mean, taxing work cell phones, work laptops, medical insurance, you get it through work, let alone the car parks. It's just small stuff, really, for no particular gain. And you imagine, Larry, what if you're a doctor, you go to your designated car park for A&E, and you're on your cell phone taking a call about someone who's about to die in A&E. Goodness, are we going to tax him, her?
Well, yeah, the government will, and these are words you're not going to hear very often, but I agree with you, Josie.
Oh, my gosh, Cam, this is terrible. We're agreeing on everything. We're going to agree on herbal remedies too, I know.
Well, it's just a silly thing. Anyway, let's go to you, Josie.
Herbal remedies. And
the health supplements, and Consumer New Zealand saying that there should be a clampdown, there should be tougher regulation. In other words, if they have a label, they should be able to prove that what's on the label is actually true and correct.
Oh, look, don't get me started. If this wasn't herbal remedies, if it was breakfast cereals, you'd have the hippie community up in arms about this, saying we demand labelling, we demand tests. This is the problem with this stuff. I mean, I go and get a facial. I doubt you two get facials, but it used to be that you'd get, avocado and cucumber essence, and it was meant to make you look younger and wonderful.
How's that working for you, Josie?
Well, it failed. and now we've got more scientific sort of essence. We've got seaweed, which is not so scientific, and we always have to have something like vitamin A, or the epidural layer is going to be fixed through some scientific thing. It's rubbish.
Yeah, I think if you're making claims that certain things happen when you take these things, show the evidence, justify that.
Right, nobody's saying ban supplements, but manufacturers and promoters should have to substantiate their claims.
Yeah, but the worst ones out there, though, are the homeopathic nut bars who think that diluted essence of fish guts diluted 1,000 times in water is some sort of cure because the microscopic atoms have all fitted into it. I mean, this is just quackery, and that is an area that certainly should be clamped down on.
Thank you, Cameron Slater and Josie Pagani on the Huddle. It's coming up 9 to 6.